He stole knowledge to pass an exam. Now, every day, he waits for the system to turn him in. Amazon return. The air in the Amazon warehouse in Columbus was thick, smelling of compressed cardboard, plastic, and overheated air conditioning. Workers silently sorted the endless flow of boxes, some arriving, others leaving. On the return conveyor belt lay identical rectangles, each with its own story, but to the system, they were nothing more than numbers in a database. "This one's definitely from Walmart," muttered a clerk, sniffing the box. "Cheap tape. Smells like burnt popcorn." "There you go again," his partner waved him off. "Tape is just tape." "Nope," the clerk said stubbornly. "Titanstrix has a sharper smell. Eco-tape has a sweet aftertaste. I can smell the difference." They argued while the boxes flowed down the belt, one after another. Meanwhile, in the dormitory of a student campus, under the dim light of a desk lamp, sat Taylor. On his knees lay a thick economics textbook, just received from Amazon. The book cost more than his entire monthly stipend. He opened it, placed his old phone beside it, and began photographing page after page. The clicks of the camera sounded dry, like stamps on documents. With his other hand, he absent-mindedly squeezed a rubber duck, a habit he hadn't been able to shake since childhood. On the phone screen, the lines turned into digital copies, paper into light, knowledge into files. Each photo felt like a victory over the system. Why pay when you can return? The phone lit up again. A message blinked in the friends chat. "So, did you check it?" Taylor typed a reply. "It works." Another message followed instantly. "The chicken brings luck." "Curry's success is stronger," Taylor typed quickly and hit send. He smirked. No cameras, no witnesses, just him, his phone, the duck, and the box that would be sent back tomorrow morning as if it had never been opened. He carefully sealed the lid, but the branded yellow smile sticker lay crooked, as if the system itself was looking at him askew. Outside the dorm, rain was falling. Water streamed down the glass, blurring Taylor's reflection. He stared at his own face and thought, "This is only the beginning." The story began with one camera click, one crooked sticker, and the first quiet didn't fit. The next morning, Taylor stood at the campus mailroom with the box in his hands. He looked like any ordinary student, jeans, backpack, tired eyes after a night of note-taking. No one could guess that inside was his first experiment with the system. The clerk lazily accepted the box and suddenly sighed. "Not enough bubble wrap these days, you know. People abuse it. Now I tell students, smooth the smile on the label. If you get rid of the crease, the return goes through faster." He pointed at the curved arrow logo. "Seriously?" asked Taylor, trying to hide the tremor in his voice. "Yup," the clerk shrugged. "It's all psychology here." He scanned the barcode and the box, leaving behind a shiny trail of tape on the floor, slowly rolled away into the return container. Back in his room, Taylor opened his laptop and logged into his Amazon account. The Return Accepted button flashed green. The money had already been credited to his card. He leaned back in his chair and felt euphoria, like winning the lottery. The expensive book remained in his phone's memory while the money returned to his account. 2 wins at once, he thought. That evening, he told his roommate Jared about the trick. Jared didn't believe him at first, but when Taylor showed the transaction history on his screen, Jared's eyes lit up. "Dude, this is genius. You hacked Amazon." "Not hacked, just used the rules of the game." "Like a mosquito against an elephant?" "Exactly. Elephants kill mosquitoes." "Well, not right away." Their laughter was cut short by the RA. the floor supervisor. He walked in without knocking and handed Taylor a slip of paper. Warning, for excessive use of tape in the dorm. Complaints from the cleaning staff. The hallway is sticky. Taylor hid his face behind the laptop while Jared nearly fell over laughing. The rumor of the hack spread quickly. Messages popped up in the course chat. Who knows about this? Does it really work? Taylor became the informal hero of campus. They called him the hacker, though he knew perfectly well there was no hack at all. The system was just too big to notice a small crack. Deep down, he felt smarter than everyone. Corporations, professors, even his own parents. No, success requires cunning, he thought, staring at the thin trail of tape that led from his door to the trash bin. A month later, the scheme was no longer a secret. It started with a couple of friends, but soon half the faculty knew about Taylor's trick. Every evening, new messages appeared in the chat. Already returned biology. Tomorrow I'll try law. The chat now had a strange name, Primetime Priests, suggested by some joker. Nobody understood why, but it stuck, and soon every new return was celebrated with memes of robes and candles. In the library, the label printer constantly jammed. It chewed the paper, spat out crumpled stickers, and students joked, "It's playing the game too." Two stood out among the group. Lucas, the skeptic. He rarely joined discussions and kept grumbling. This will end badly. Someone always pays for someone else's free ride. Taylor brushed him off, smirking. Relax, these are the rules of the game. We just play better. And Maya, the theorist. She sat in the back row with her eternal notebook, building schemes. If you order books in alphabetical order, the system breaks faster. Anatomy, then biology, then geography. You're serious? Jared laughed. That's not a spell, Maya. It is a spell, she snapped. Algorithms love order. The strangest character was the guy with a plastic cactus in his room. He ordered books on gardening, even though he had no window, watering the cactus from an empty mug. You have to be ready when the world embraces green roofs, he said with a fanatic gleam in his eyes. Taylor watched all this with secret delight. His status grew. Now he was the guide to the shadow economy of knowledge. People approached him in the cafeteria, in lectures, even at the gym. Hey, how's the best way to pack the box? What do you write in the return reason? He answered reluctantly, pretending to be tired of fame. But inside, he basked in the attention. Only Lucas kept muttering, "This isn't a game. Someone will pay in the end." Taylor shrugged, squeezed the rubber duck, and repeated, "These are the rules of the game." He didn't yet understand that the game was already out of his control, and each new box only brought closer the day when the system would stare him straight in the face. In Amazon's headquarters, investigations looked routine. Return graphs, algorithms, red anomaly markers. But Columbus stood out too much. Dozens of identical didn't fit in a row. The case went to the security department, where it landed on the desk of Mr. Hawkins. He looked odd. Gray suit, but a tie covered in tiny donuts. In his mouth, chewing gum, snapping so loudly it felt like part of the interrogation. He carried a plastic container with a goldfish, placing it on the table during every conversation. "Calms me down," he explained flatly. Nobody dared to ask whether it calmed him or the person across. Hawkins appeared on campus quietly. At the guard desk, he said, "I'm from quality control." Just a few questions. The questions always started with trifles, like, how's the weather in Ohio? Do you like the styrofoam peanuts in packages? I think they're like peanuts, just inedible. Then, suddenly, how many books did you return last month? Why do your transactions match the orders of 5 other students? Meanwhile, Taylor began noticing oddities. A car without plates sat in the parking lot. In the library, a man leafed through the exact same books as him. In the cafeteria, Hawkins walked by twice, by chance. One evening in the dorm, Taylor received a letter. Inside was a printout of his returns. At the bottom was the branded yellow smile and scribbled by hand, "Explain." He sat on the bed, squeezing the paper and the rubber duck so hard it squeaked. In his head, a buzzing, like a warehouse scanner running his lifeline line by line. His heart beat louder than Hawkins' gum snapping. Taylor realized the game was over. But confessing was impossible. A plan formed inside him. If they found someone guilty, it would not be him. It had to be someone close, someone who trusted him, someone who never expected the blow. Andrew was always the kind of guy who helped, even when no one asked. One evening, he tinkered in the shared kitchen with a toaster that should have been thrown out. A neighbor complained the bread kept getting stuck. Andrew smiled, took it apart, and 10 minutes later, it worked again. Another time, he brought a 6-student chicken soup in a plastic container. "Don't eat dry noodles. Warm this up," he said awkwardly, but sincerely. That's who he was. Quiet, attentive, with a kindness that seemed impractical in a world where everyone hurried to cheat. And it was him Taylor chose when the pressure became unbearable. They sat in the dorm common room. Andrew was talking about his internship, how he wanted to work at a small firm where people know each other by name. Taylor nodded, but one thought pulsed in his head. He will be my way out. "Listen," Taylor began casually, squeezing the rubber duck in his hands. "If they ask about returns, maybe say you pushed me into it? Just a formality." Andrew blinked, frowned. "Why would I say that? I can't even order pizza without messing up the address." "Exactly," Taylor smirked, though his voice wavered. "Nobody would think I came up with it." Silence hung. Andrew fiddled with his sweater sleeve. Taylor stared at the floor. Ordinary words, pizza, sweater, address, hung in the air like a verdict. The next day, the admin committee met. Rain drizzled outside. A soda machine in the corner swallowed a coin, but the can got stuck and never fell. Nobody helped. At the long table sat the dean, Hawkins with his donut tie and snapping gum, and Andrew's parents, weary in cheap jackets. His mother clutched a folder of receipts, tied with a red grocery ribbon. Taylor spoke calmly, even confidently. Words about influence, about how he just tried it. Each "not me" dropped into the room like a paperclip. In his pocket, the duck squeaked faintly. Andrew looked at him silently. There was no rage in his eyes, only slow realization. The verdict came quickly. Expulsion. His parents led him away, clutching the folder that seemed heavier than a suitcase. Hawkins snapped his gum and closed the case. That evening, Taylor received an email confirming his eligibility to defend his thesis. The screen glowed, "Congratulations," but it felt like someone else's sticky truth. Years passed. Taylor now sat in an office on the 40th floor of a Chicago skyscraper, a glass-walled room, river view, and on the wall a massive corporate poster reading Integrity, with a smiling team in the background. He tried not to look, but the poster was omnipresent, like the crooked "didn't fit" label. A colleague named Vera, genuinely kind, always with a mug of tea, once asked at a meeting, "Taylor, why don't the coefficients add up here?" His throat tightened. Instead of an answer, he unleashed a stream of hollow jargon. "We need an additional multi-factor calibration on cross-segmentation." Vera nodded, gave an embarrassed smile, and didn't press further. The room believed him, but inside, he felt he had fooled them all once again. Over time, strange rituals took over. He counted paper clips in a jar on his desk before leaving work, never visited Amazon's site, even by accident. In his email filters, he blocked the word "return," just in case. One day, an HR email arrived, mandatory corporate ethics training. But the system instantly sent back an auto-reply, "completed, auto-approved." Taylor gave a bitter smile. Even the company mocked him. At night, he was haunted by dreams. Back in the dorm room, Andrew sat across from him. On the table, Hawkins' goldfish container. Andrew silent, the fish circling endlessly. Somewhere close, gum snapped. Again, the faint words, "didn't fit," each one like an unpaid check. Taylor woke drenched in sweat, staring at the city lights outside his window. In his hand, the rubber duck, squeezed until it creaked. Everything he built felt like a facade, behind which was emptiness. Success, bonuses, a new car, all stolen. Every day he lived as if the knock at the door was near, but the door stayed closed. And in that ironic silence lay the cruelest punishment. The system might never accuse him, but life had already passed sentence. An ordinary evening. In Taylor's apartment, only the fridge hummed, while the noise of cars drifted in from outside. He sat at his laptop when he noticed an envelope at the door. Cheap paper, jagged handwriting. Inside was a copy of his first return. Date, amount, status. Return accepted. At the bottom, scrawled by hand, "Remember me." His heart sank. He opened the door. A cardboard package lay there. On it, a crooked smile sticker. He carried it in, tore off the tape. Inside lay his own diploma, carefully wrapped in bubble wrap. The plastic label read, "Return accepted. Buyer dissatisfied." On his laptop screen flashed a notification from Amazon. "Your item, Taylor M., Columbus, Ohio, has been returned. Amount credited. Replacement shipped." He froze, squeezing the rubber duck until it squeaked in pain. In his head came the familiar camera click, then Hawkins' gum snapping, all blurred together. The doorbell rang. Taylor walked slowly, opened it, and on the threshold stood another him, younger, more confident, holding a box, the smile sticker crooked again. Silence filled the room. The real punishment wasn't exposure, but the system's decision. He himself was a return.